welcome to the Holy Hour podcast, the bi-weekly All Cure podcast. We have a very special episode for you guys. I'm proud to welcome to the show our good buddy Scott. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Pretty good. Yeah,
Excellent.
getting you on the show finally, man. Sorry it's taking so long. I know.
That's okay. I'm a faithful listener, so it's good to finally get on here and actually be able to. It's weird being able to speak to a voice I hear coming through my radio all the time.
Yeah, no kidding. Likewise, man. I've been totally binging out on all your podcast, and I really appreciate your contributions to this show. And yeah, as far as like getting sappy right out of the gates, I've mentioned on the show before, there's something weird about this Holy Hour podcast. When I contact people, there's certain people that I just like, as soon as I hear back from them or in any kind of real contact, it's like really eerie where I feel like I've known you forever. Like you totally seem like the kind of dude that like hung out with me and my brothers in the late 90s or, late 80s, even into the 90s, and just see your photos on Facebook. I'm like, I totally know this dude. And I'm like, right before I'm calling you, I'm like, I've never actually spoken to this guy. Oh my God.
No, just in like live stream comments or, via Facebook. Yeah. Or, I'll send you a freaking 3-page long dissertation on my feelings on 413 Dream or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like we go way back, man. So good to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
So yeah, for anyone out there listening, and welcome to the show. You might recognize Scott from the 413 Other Perspectives. We had you on the Pasadena show review.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other ones there. I'm starting to...
I think I've just kind of written in on occasion, but
Yeah.
I think you got my voice a couple of times in a couple of shows. I'm old, so, my memory's shot. What do I know?
Yeah, me too. Right there with you. I'm like, got like 150 of these episodes now. I'm starting to forget who the hell I've talked to and who I haven't. I'm going to start really offending people, or I'll be like, I need your origin story, man. And I'm like, we already did that. It's like, oh shit, sorry. But yeah, man, Scott is a very creative and active person out there. And you totally blow my mind of just like how much cool stuff you're constantly throwing out into the world, and
thank you.
Totally admire that. Like just the quick rundown of what I had jotted down here. I was like, longtime Cure fan, part of, if not creator and co-host of 2 really rad podcasts, Nerd Tunes and Sarlacc Digest, graphic designer and artist in general, teacher of graphic
sort of
artists. Yeah. This is where I had like little question marks. I was like, works in a theater?
Yeah.
You were in season 4 of Saved by the Bell? No? Okay. It's like, this guy does everything. Survivor.
A jack of all trades, a master of none.
So, but I love it. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the coolest things is just seeing people, when I'm my most down on social media, and then I see people that are actually like just throwing cool things out there in the world and like, just sharing cool art and everything, and it really makes it all worthwhile. So I'm impressed.
So thank you. Social media is one of those things that I absolutely hate, but at the same time, without it, I wouldn't know like you guys existed. You wouldn't know we wouldn't know what half the people we know are doing anymore. So
yeah, exactly.
It's one of those necessary evils, I suppose.
Yeah, I know. I guess we're all struggling with it. Maybe that's where it gets you.
But I'm the co-creator of the Nerd Tunes podcast, and then I started with the Sarlacc Digest. We just recorded, I think, episode 83, and I started with episode 6. So I was pretty early on in the Sarlacc Digest.
Yeah.
Back then I was doing the Nerds with Attitude podcast also, but that kind of went by the wayside. So
okay, yeah, and you can find Nerd Tunes through that, right? That's I got a little sidetracked at first, but we'll definitely bring up a lot of these later. I want to touch on all these facets of your life here, and we'll put links to all those so people can track them down too and figure out what they are a bit more if they're not familiar. But it'd be cool and get some crossovers in there for sure. So
heck yeah,
I think people would really dig it. So yeah, thanks for taking the time to talk with me here. I really
No
appreciate it.
problem,
As
man.
I'm writing all those down, I'm like, oh shit, he's not gonna want to talk to me, man. He's not gonna
Oh, are
have
you
time.
kidding me?
He's not gonna have time. He's gonna be.
I feel like I should have picked up I should have immediately said, long time listener, first time caller.
Yeah.
Wow, is that really you, Gavin?
Totally. Well, thanks so much, man. And like I said, I want to touch on a lot of those things, but of course, this is a Cure podcast, so I figured
Yes.
what better place to start was than with your longtime fandom and love of the Cure. And it's always fun to get people's origin stories and hear how it all started. So I figured if that's a cool place to start with you, let's take it back to your little Muppet Baby days. And
Sure.
what was some of the earliest music in general that you started to get into, even pre-Cure?
Oh, dude. Okay, so I'm in Southern California, and you and I off air were talking about how it's pretty much just a massive desert.
Yeah.
I've been growing up in this area. I've been here since I was 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
And the only radio station we could get back then was a country station. And my parents loved the country music, and my father loved Neil Diamond music. And so I pretty much grew up hating music. I didn't know that music existed that I could actually enjoy until we got a VCR. And we started renting movies like Pretty in Pink and The Breakfast Club and stuff like that. And I remember getting my very first soundtrack cassette was to Pretty in Pink, and it had In Excess and New Order and Echo and the Bunnymen and all of these absolutely rad bands that I was like, what is this? I like this. This is music. Music can sound like this.
Yeah.
So, and then I want to say it was around 1989. We moved to the big city, which was pretty much 10 miles down the road. And I was able to get MTV for the first time.
Yeah. And
so suddenly I'm getting music videos, and I'm seeing bands like Def Leppard and Poison, and it was that era, and I'm like, okay, these are all right. These are fine. It's still not country music, so it's okay. Okay, there's this Motley Crue band, whatever. And then one day there was the debut of Fascination Street, the video.
Yeah.
And I had heard Just Like Heaven before, and I really liked it. I still actually consider that to be it's as cheesy as it may sound, that is my absolute favorite Cure song.
Yeah, me too. I think.
I love that damn song.
It's like crazy. It never gets old. Like, how could it not be like just so like exhausted in our ears at this point? But like, you still like as soon as you hear it, you get the same goosebumps as you did when you were a kid.
Just talking about it right now, I'm getting the goosebumps. You know every note, every beat, every lick, every word, everything. I know that song like the back of I know that song better than the back of my hand, because I know where that liver spot came from. But exactly. So, but yeah, 1989 Fascination Street video hit. I think it was 89 Fascination Street video hit, and it was the first time I saw the Cure.
Okay.
So I had never seen Robert Smith or Simon Gallup or Pearl now. Boris. I'm watching this thing unfold, and it's dark and it's moody and there's fog and there's lipstick on dudes and there's big hair, and I'm like, I want to be there. I want to be around these people. I want to know everything about this band. So from that point on, it was just like, I think the first album I bought was The Head on the Door, and then Disintegration, and then Kiss Me, and kind of went back and forward and back. And yeah,
that's pretty rad. Yeah, I'm always curious of how, like, once the hook is in, like the back catalog question is always huge too, or it's all like, was there a strategy to it? I mean, I guess since you're kind of around the same time frame as me, if it was like how I was when I'd go to the tape store, it was kind of like you never knew what the hell Cure tape was going to be there that you didn't have, so you kind of just grabbed whichever one you didn't have, and it's like but
and I also didn't know how singles work, so it's like I went on a hunt for whatever album contained Charlotte Sometimes, it's not on an album,
Yeah.
except for Standing on a
It's
Beach.
like,
But
what
you
the
know,
hell? Why can't I?
yeah. So I'm buying all of these albums and I'm getting Carnage Visors. And I'm like, well, it just says Carnage Visors. Maybe it's on there, not knowing what that was. And
Yeah.
just the education. I mean, The Cure taught me a lot whenever it comes to music and how the music industry works and how records drop and singles drop and music videos and remixes. I never knew a band
Yeah.
that remixed songs like they do. So I would buy the single, and the single would sound different than what's on the album. And then I have to argue with myself, which one do I
Right.
like
Which was
better?
better? Yeah.
And that just
Especially
started me
that
on this.
era too was totally,
Oh, I
like coming
know.
into like mixed up and it just put all like the singles with the B-sides would be just some longer version or, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
what?
And I had my parents were always really supportive of anything and everything that I liked. They always encouraged me to get into art and music and whatever.
Yeah.
So my mom brings home one day that Song Words book, the white one with like the
Yeah.
love song faces on it. And I'm looking through it and I'm like, okay, so that's what he says in these songs. And then I see the title Too Late and I'm like, well, where the hell is that song now?
Yeah.
So then the hunt for that B-side, and then I discovered B-sides, and it's like, holy shit, it just keeps going and going. And just that their catalog just blew me away with. It's just so prolific.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess there are variations of what's the hunt nowadays for like if a kid was just getting into the Cure. I think there
Right.
are a few of those that are like, what? That's not on iTunes. I kind of went back and tried that recently where I
Mm-hmm.
just to see what the hell was on, like if it is their full catalog. And there were a couple holes in it. I remember there were like a few weird things like
Mm-hmm.
it is that constant other like modern day struggle of like, man, a kid would just like have all these at once. If you just got into the Cure right now, you'd
I
be like,
know.
bam, you can find anything. And it's
Eh,
like old man Connor and me. I'm just gonna like, you damn kids, you don't know the hunt, but same
right.
time.
It's nice to have it all at your fingertips, but man, there was a record. There is a record store. It's about, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half from here. It's called Rhino Records, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like your Valhalla of music stores, right? They've
Right.
always got imports, and they've got bootlegs, and they've got the actual releases, used CDs, all of that. And back in the day, I want to say it was probably around 1990, my buddies all say, hey, let's go down to Rhino Records. I'm like, what's that? And they're like, just come with us, you'll love it. So we go down there, and of course there's the two places I always go are always the Cure and Depeche Mode. Those are my two bands right there. So I remember that first time walking into Rhino Records. I'm walking up, and in the Cure section, here's the glove, and I'm like, "What's this?"
That was so
And
weird.
right,
Go ahead.
and here's the live cassette, Curiosity, and on the B side was Killing the Cat, where it was like all the really weird outtakes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm in heaven here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny.
It's definitely like a crack head hunt for that feeling again, like once you reach
Oh,
that
yeah.
chasing
Oh,
that
yeah.
hit of like now, like I remember distinctly at a certain point as a kid where I was like, I think I found them all, it was just like every time you go, you weren't seeing anything new. It's just like, oh man, is
And
it over?
I've seen the Cure in concert at every tour since Wish Tour.
Oh wow, cool.
And every time I go, I always buy a couple of T-shirts, and I buy the tour program.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, I've got all these tour programs. I want their older tour programs. So then I start collecting those, and then I get all those. Now I'm like, oh, I want to collect all the books. It's the mind of the collector.
Yeah, I was gonna
Unfortunately,
say
that's
you
a
got like
disease,
some
man.
amazing collections that expand, through your Star Wars fandom and other things, I'm sure. But that was something for sure. I was blown away by when I saw that online. Like, so do you have pretty much all the tour book programs going back to?
I've got unfortunately my tour. I think for like, because I do the same thing with Depeche Mode.
Uh-huh.
With Depeche Mode, I've got them all from Jesus, I think from A Broken Frame, all the way up to the tour from 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
The Cure, I only go as far back as The Head on the Door.
Yeah, that's
So I
good.
don't go that far back,
Seems
but
like they get
it's
spotty just from what I've seen on there anyway, where they'd be like crazy hard to find probably before that. And like even
yeah,
like the top one I think was just like a fold out like one page, like a menu kind of thing more that where
it's
that
kind
was
of what it looked like. Yeah.
yeah, it looks pretty dubious or you'd probably pay like hundreds of dollars for it and be like, ah, cool. And you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's rad though, man. That's something that you know, mentioned in shows before when we went to our first show was the Wish tour
Right.
and Donald and I were there. I bought like two T-shirts, and he bought a T-shirt, and he got the Wish program. I was kind of like,
Hmm.
why the hell are you buying that? And then like as soon as we sat down, you were like looking through it, and it has like all their favorites and band recommendations and stuff. And I
Right.
like pretty much from that moment leaving the stadium at that point, I've regretted it my entire life since. You know, I was just like, why didn't I buy that, man? Jeez, that was so cool. But yeah, so that's a cool.
That was actually my wife's first concert.
Wow.
We were just dating for about, I want to say, a little over a year. It's one of those situations where her music taste was kind of like, you know, every teenage girl's music taste, like
Yeah.
Debbie Gibson and Madonna and all that disposable pop
Right.
music. And whenever we first started dating, I said, "Here, check this out." And I gave her a mixtape. One side was The Cure, the other side was Susie and the Banshees.
Nice.
And yeah, that's how we
I
started
bet.
dating. So her first concert was I took her to see the Wish tour. We were at the Rose Bowl. We were 13th row, dead
Whoa.
center on the floor, and it was mind altering.
Yeah, I bet. Damn, 13
Uh,
row. That's pretty
I
rad.
worked at Music Plus, and you know, we had a Ticketmaster, and we used to pull some strings. So
Ah.
yeah,
You guys, I always had that theory as a kid. I was like, I bet there's some kid at a ticket place that
I will
works
tell
at
you with the utmost confidence and sincerity, you are 100% accurate.
yeah.
We would always pull tickets.
Like I swear I got it on the first ring, and I'm still like row of you know A you know
Yep.
so we were pretty nosebleeds for ours, but it did the trick. But
Yeah.
13th row too, that's like all
Yeah.
Cure-esque
It's
and
never
magical.
been that good since.
Yeah, it can be a
Except
struggle.
last year.
Yeah,
Last year I got pretty close with the Daydream Festival, which was really cool. So
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, well that's pretty rad. You were able to get all the major tours in still since. I wasn't sure if how many
Oh
total
yeah.
do you know? Or is it
Oh
always
Jesus! I think
yeah,
on the swing tour for Wild Mood Swings, we saw them 2 or 3 times. So
yeah.
I think it's like 9 times, 8, 9 times, something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've hit them up more in the later years, but I think I'm about around that too, 12, I think. But yeah, it's crazy when the people on the show here you hear all the
Oh, like
like fuck,
Arusha, who goes to
yeah.
every concert. I'm like, oh my god, if only. Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, no kidding. I was just like, oh, what did I do in my youth? I should have been doing that.
Right?
Yeah, that's pretty rad. Do you remember like what the initial attraction was to it when you know you saw like Fascination Street or maybe even delayed reaction of it piling on? What was the appeal as a
Uh,
youngster?
it was not only just an absolutely unique sound, but just a unique look as well. You know,
Yeah,
that they were the whole package. It's almost like and this is going to sound insanely cheesy when I say this, but it's almost like there was something in the music world that was missing in my brain. There was,
yeah,
you know, I kept hearing music that I'm like, okay, I like that, like Echo and the Bunnymen. I like Echo and the Bunnymen.
mm-hmm.
That's cool. But there was something about the look and the sound of the band combined with that just moody atmosphere that
Yeah,
it made me, it hit me on kind of a visceral level where I started realizing that I know they bandy about the term goth a lot, and they're not
yeah,
technically a goth band, but there was something that was very, for lack of better terms, gothy about
yeah,
Fascination Street in that video. And it struck a nerve. It struck that just the way I needed it to strike. And next thing I know, I'm wearing all black. I'm, you know, wearing a
right,
black trench coat. I never did
yeah,
the makeup or the big hair because me with big hair looks dumb.
yeah,
So, but you know, it was everything else. It was like it hit me on such a deep level that I needed to see more. I needed to hear more. I needed to to just kind of dive into that world.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's cool. Yeah, do you have a like a favorite era then from that would be your particular time frame that
Yeah, I want to say, and the let me just say that the default is usually the Head on the Door through Wish era.
Yeah.
You know, where it's just lull left, and Perry came in and filled in with guitars and all that. Just that era is probably my default, but there's just something about the Pornography album that just gotta say that, and I think, but wait, what about 17 Seconds? That's a perfect album. It's I would have to say, if you were forcing me to choose, I would definitely go with the Head on the Door through Wish era.
Yeah. We've kind of dubbed that the golden era, whether it's, I mean, it's just like everything was clicking at that point. Commercially, albums, lineup, everybody seemed a little happier than normal, even, aside from Lowell, maybe, but
maybe. You read his book, right?
Yeah. So,
it's great. I think I've read it twice, and I listened to the audiobook where he actually narrates.
Yeah, I want to do that and check that out and get the audiobook, but I haven't done that.
It adds a new level to it.
Yeah, I think it would be cool because it is written in a really readable way, where it wasn't, totally over dramatic or I mean, it just totally flowed really well too, and made it like
and he fessed up. He fessed up to what he did wrong, and it wasn't him against the band the whole time. And that's what whenever it came out, my wife saw it at Barnes and Noble, and she's like, "Do you want that?" I'm like, I don't want to tell all. That's just gonna piss me off.
Yeah, me too. I was a little.
She bought it for me anyway. Yeah. And gave it to me for Christmas, awesome. and I read it, and I'm just like, damn, this is exactly what not a tell-all, but like a biography on a band should be.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was good. It really did pinpoint just like his perspective, his memoir, and it just kind of got out what he needed to, and that leaves so much more where if Robert or anybody else wanted to do their book, it could be a completely different thing, but it would be fine, So I think
it didn't kill the mystery either. There's still some mystery to the band, and yeah. So anyway,
that's why he was the dude to do it, I guess. Or it's just like, I don't know, I don't remember that year through this year. It's like, all right.
I'm pretty sure if Robert did one, it would just be half of it would be completely made up.
Yeah, exactly. It would just be like
to people.
Right. It's like, wait, isn't that like a sci-fi movie? Like it just goes into some weird ass. I know that story. We love to throw out the time machine show idea here, which is really realistic. But is there a show in particular or from a tour that you would love to revisit in that time machine?
I would have loved to have seen the Dodger Stadium disintegration show where Love and Rockets had opened for them, and because I love Love and Rockets, Daniel Ash, David J. That's a great band. But I would have loved to have seen that. But saying that, there's something really special about The Cure and Orange.
True. Yeah.
If you were able to actually hop in a time machine that, travel 88 miles an hour, go back to 1985 and see them in Paris or France at the Theater de Orange or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, it's true. Because initially you'd be like, I was even thinking like, I love that time frame, but based on stuff that we have good footage of, maybe I would take it to a different world, but like, but it would almost be cool to see it in person and then have, like a lot of people probably had that experience with the Hyde Park thing that just came out where, but then I wonder how much of that ends up like, like when a movie of a book comes out and ends up kind of ruining your memory, you start picturing just the movie of it instead, like if, but I mean, if time travel though, so that'd be good. So you'd be,
well, I was watching Show the other day because somebody dropped me a digital copy of Show, and I was watching it, and I'm like, I remember this concert being so much longer than that. And then I actually looked up, because you can look up like setlist.org or whatever
website thing.
And they only put like half the concert on the video cassette, and I'm like, holy shit, I don't remember them playing these songs at all because I've been watching Show since 1993.
Totally.
Yeah.
And our seats were so bad that I pretty much just remember show, you know. But
Yeah.
I remember everyone around me and stuff. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, as far as actual music memory, it's pretty much just show in my memory.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, that's pretty cool that I think it's rare that you were aware or got into like some of those other bands even before The Cure, maybe safe to say, like by the Pretty in Pink soundtrack and like being
Oh
aware
yeah.
of, because I was kind of the same way where it was like my brothers were all into Echo and the Bunnymen and the Smiths and
Mhm.
stuff and New Order and then it was just like one of our side friends was the one that introduced me to The Cure, but that somehow they never popped up and I really latched onto them, but it's strange that they seem to be more of the gateway band where you get into The Cure, then you find out about Depeche Mode and Echo and all the other bands and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was that damn Pretty in Pink soundtrack
Yeah,
did
that was a
me
good
in.
one.
I want to say after that, I was like, okay, well, I really like If You Leave by OMD. So
Yeah,
my mom bought me the cassette of OMD's best. It's like a
the
20
black.
songs on a cassette
Yeah,
tape. And I just remember playing that to death. And then, I loved it, knew every song. I'm like, okay, it's great. But it's never a band that I sought out to see live or,
yeah. I've
seek
never
out the
seen them either.
videos or anything. Yeah.
And it's funny, even along those lines, I love that tape too. It was like my second oldest T-shirt is the greatest hits. It's the black shirt with their faces on it, and I still have it to this day. It's like see through
That's
at this point.
badass.
Yeah, I
That
love
is
it.
badass.
Somehow it was like an XX large too, or something, or it's still
Wait,
big
isn't
on
that
me.
weird? It's like back then in the beginning of Hot Topic era and the concert times,
Yeah,
man. All shirts I would buy would be like double extra large, one
yeah.
size fits all.
It's
And
like,
I,
was
I
that all they
was
had, or what was
I
the?
was maybe I was 5'11" and I weighed 128 pounds. So it's like
Me too.
I was bathing in these giant shirts, but fuck if it wasn't the Cure or something.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But yeah, with
Yeah.
OMD, it's weird because I was always just happy with that greatest hits. I mean, I eventually went back and got the albums like way later,
Mhm.
but I was always kind of like, yeah, I love this album from start to finish, but I never was like, this is my band. I got to find every album of theirs, the way I was with The Cure. So
Right.
it's pretty odd.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same way. I want to say it was probably 3 years ago. I'm like, why is it that I've never actually looked up OMD's other albums?
Yeah, they got some great
And
ones,
I've,
especially the super early ones. They definitely got super poppy as it went, as you can tell from that
yeah.
greatest hits in hindsight.
Well,
But
I was listening to, I don't know if you've ever heard Dazzle Ships, which is
yeah,
I love that album. And I don't know why. It's just weird samples and
yeah,
weird
it's all like
sounds. And it's just
submarine sounds and
great.
shit. Yeah, it's very weird,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's cool.
it is cool. It's highly recommend for anybody out
Yeah,
there wanting something cool to listen to that's just off, just a little different. Dazzle Ships by OMD is great.
definitely. And yeah, thanks for all the other great recommendations fairly recently too, like
Oh,
the
did you listen to the
marionettes.
Trentmoller?
Yes, I did. I loved it. Yeah, super like moody, awesome. I've been putting it on during breakfast. He sent those when we were at the beach trip there, and I was like totally digging it. So thank you. So yeah,
My
another
pleasure.
reason to check out your Nerd Tunes. Yeah.
Kevin and I last week recorded. We're doing a series of 2 episodes. It's music A through Z. So I get to pick a song whose band starts with letter A. He does B. I do C.
Ah,
So it's
that's pretty rad.
that's supposed to drop in the next week or so. But he chose his favorite songs, and I decided to choose new songs from new bands that people might not have heard, or
Okay.
if it
Yeah.
is an older song, maybe something that's not a single. I like to share music, so I like to try and, I don't want to, it sounds really pretentious for me to say educate, but
Right,
I
right.
like to share and get people interested in new bands and stuff.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. I love it. And it's so nice because I'm always doing that 2 or 4 people, however they proceed. But I'm always trying to share stuff. And like, it's so nice when other people are doing it. And I'm like, yes, more. I love it. And yeah, just like making mixes and stuff like that I've been doing
Yeah.
forever. And, it's so cool. And it's weird because certain people just have like defenses or walls. I think it's just like they can't really get into it unless they discover it or find it. But at the same time, it's a weird thing where I don't even take it as offense to it anymore at this point. But it's just like some people are like, "Yeah, unless I find them, I'm not gonna." I'm just like,
See,
"Why?
I'm
What?"
the exact opposite. Give me everything.
Yeah, me
I want
too.
to hear you. I think it was you that recommended Secret Shame.
Yeah,
Um,
they're Asheville band,
fuck,
local
this is
band. It's
amazing music. I downloaded both albums. I'm like, oh my
cool.
God, this is great.
Yeah, I love
And
them.
I also liked Yeesh, who I
Yeah,
think
that was Donald had
Donald. Yeah,
played with those guys. Yeah.
I was playing that and I was listening to it and I'm like, oh, this is great. And I hear a voice coming out of the other room. My wife says, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Turn it down.
It's like yeah,
Sorry.
totally. That's how it goes. So yeah, I guess shifting gears away, but I still want to keep it Cure related. But I do
Sure.
have to admit I can't have you on this podcast without hitting you up for a billion Star Wars questions too. So as we mentioned,
You do you, man. I'm here.
okay.
I'm here.
I'm sorry. I hope you don't get too much Star Wars talk in your life, and you're like, oh, geez.
There is no such thing.
Okay, good. But like we said at the top, aside from Nerd Tunes, you have a really rad podcast called Sarlacc Digest, and I've been really digging that one. And
Thank you.
you guys really do a good job with it because it's like, I swear I drop like a Star Wars reference or joke in every episode, but I always end up cutting it out just because I get like, well, I'm like forcing it maybe. I'm like no one else is gonna think this is funny or something, but so it never makes the cut. But it's always in there in spirit. But yeah, I really dig your show because it's like I've tried to find. There's a lot of Star Wars podcasts out there, and I've hopped around. It's one of those things, I could just listen to people talk about it all day, but and then like there's always something where it starts getting a little too like Simpsons comic booky guy or something, or I'm just like, it's not working. But you guys really do a great job of just making it like normal conversation, or I'm just
that's
like,
actually. That's how we started. We would all gather in a room together and talk Star Wars. And eventually, it's like, well, why aren't we recording this? I mean, that's how Nerds with Attitude started. And that's how Sarlacc started.
Yeah,
and then
that's exactly how the Holy Hour started. Donald and I it was like the 5th night in a row where we were just babbling for like 2 hours on the phone to each other, like little kids again about like some Cure album. And we're like, we should just record this. There isn't a Cure podcast. So, that's awesome to hear. That's how it starts.
Yeah, we try to keep it positive. We try to keep it light. Lately, over the last year or so, we've been trying to keep it PG-13 too, because we're trying our best to bring in the type of attention that would allow us to go on a convention circuit eventually, And keeping it PG-13 was step one, and then being able to provide Lucasfilm with a couple of our podcasts and say, "Hey, we're not those guys who are going to ask the mean questions. We're not going to get it." That sounded really lame. We're not going to start bashing The Last Jedi. We're not going to do that because some of us may not like certain aspects of certain movies, but you know what? This is our life. We live this stuff. So, and from there, we were able to get approved by Lucasfilm to start doing interviews. So we started interviewing some voice actors and a couple of actors.
Yeah,
and now we're going for. Thank you. Now, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to start interviewing authors, and being able to do this has led to just a whole lot of opportunities for us that we didn't think we would ever be able to get in the 4 years that we've been doing 4 years that we've been doing this.
That's rad, man. Yeah. I hope the momentum keeps rolling for you guys, because it's tough. Yeah, with the YouTube thing too, and I guess Star Wars in general has like such a diverse like fans that are super into it, that are extreme age gaps, even more so than the Cure, even and there's no real thread of like when I'm uploading ours to YouTube, they're like, "Is this child friendly?" And I'm like, "Probably not, definitely not." But I'm like, "But like, whatever." But at the same time, I was like, "Well, no child should be listening to two drunk guys talk about some album that came out 20 years ago." So for their own good, no, But I mean, at the same
Right.
time, Star Wars is tough because yeah, it is like who knows what little kids just like cool Star Wars talk.
Right. Well,
So,
and the big struggle that we face is that so many of the people out there that are getting like massive amounts of followers, and they focus on the negativity. They focus on being naysayers and just dragging
yeah,
names through the mud, and that's not what we're about. But unfortunately, that's what gets clicks.
yeah,
So that's the struggle we're facing. We don't want to go down that dark rabbit hole of just negativity.
yeah,
We want to keep it positive and keep it light, but
yeah.
that unfortunately doesn't translate to listeners. But
Right.
that's our cross to bear. So that's
Yeah.
we're just going to keep
Well,
plugging
you're
along like we are.
doing great with it. So I
Thank you.
keep don't change it. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we have that struggle. Donald's the negative energy on our show. So- but like, yeah, that was kind of one of the premises where I was holding off trying to ask you to be on the show for so long. I was like, oh, that'd be great if we could somehow come up with like a Star Wars cure, like the whole thing was just references that I could throw at you and be like, oh, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And I did come up with a few, so I'll run a few by you. But it's less goofy than I initially had planned. But at the same time,
That's
I
okay.
guess going with that idea of the negativity, there are a lot of parallels in the sense of like, later Cure versus early Cure.
Oh
And
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, and just having
Oh
to
yeah.
deal with like, that kind of negative energy of something that, and it's weird with Star Wars and the Cure of like how everyone just holds it so dear to their heart because it is a huge thing, which sounds like a no-brainer, but at the same time it's weird that these two like franchises, for lack of a better word, are like you can love it so much that it feels like, to like Star Wars fans, it feels like an indie movie, and like The Cure feels
Right.
like that local band down the road, and it's a real testament to their art in the sense that people do get defensive if you start bashing it, and it is like people get like shitty if it gets too popular, even, or even, which sounds silly because like biggest blockbuster ever, and the Cure's been selling out stadiums since like '86 or whatever, you know what I mean? But it is
Right.
odd,
And regardless of how people feel about, say, 413 Dream or what, they're still selling out concerts everywhere they go.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And there's like
yeah.
12 amazing album or 11 amazing albums right before that. I mean, it's just like, it's the way it goes, you can't just keep cranking this out when you're 60 years old. So, I mean,
Right.
it's fascinating, and there is a parallel for sure of like the fandom. And I think it is easy anytime for something to just get kind of bashed on as it gets, later in its run. And, but I mean,
For every 413 Dream, there's a disintegration. For
yeah,
every Empire Strikes Back, there's an Attack of the Clones. It's just,
yeah.
there's good and there's bad and everything, and you gotta find what's good in what you think is bad and kind of hang on to that and really study that. Maybe you'll see something that you didn't know or
Yeah.
didn't notice before. It's like 413 Dream. When you guys started talking about that, I decided to really give the album another fair shake and to really go song by song and listen to it. And I found a new appreciation for it through you guys.
Awesome.
So, it's,
Yeah, hopefully we weren't too negative then, because there is a lot of good stuff in there, and it is
yeah.
kind of like on par with like, I was never even big on, I'm not like an animation kind of dude, so I haven't really
Mhm.
watched Clone Wars. I tried to watch the beginning of them, and it was just too like, but because of your podcast, I didn't even seen Rebels because I just assumed it would be like Clone Wars and the
Mhm.
beginning of Clone Wars anyway. And I rewatched it or watched it recently, and I loved it. It was so good. Like, I mean, and there's just so many seasons of Clone Wars, but you guys even talked it up so much that I watched that last season and really dug it. I was able to just jump in. There was a lot of references. I was like, oh, what the hell they're talking about? But this is cool.
Right.
But it was cool because you guys in the same comparison really had kind of told me what I needed to know from it, and I was
Mhm.
like, okay, cool. And I saw it as a story more than, just get over the fact that they're cartoons or whatever, and I was like,
Right.
oh yeah, okay, yeah, this is just a fucking cool Star Wars story. And and then you can totally see it for what it is. And hopefully the same thing with like 413 Dream. It's like that's still Robert
Absolutely.
Smith singing, you know. It's like it still
If
sounds
the
rad.
writing is there, if the writing is good and the performance is good, how can you be a naysayer? I mean, and Rebels, you hit Rebels right there. Rebels might be, and this is kind of blasphemous to say this, but Rebels very well might be my all-time favorite Star Wars anything.
Yeah.
I mean, Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie, but
Yeah.
Rebels there's just something about the whole idea of family and finding your family and fighting together to try and beat the odds. And it hits all of those Star Wars tropes just on a,
totally.
4-season multi-episode arc kind of way. And it's gorgeous. It's a beautifully shot show.
Yeah, I just totally like my late night, you know, after wife goes to bed, I'm like, what am I going to sit here? I'm caught up on the editing the podcast, and I was like, I'll just watch one of these, and you just blow through them so fast. I was like, all right, well, one more. I mean, it was totally like binge, you know, show kind of thing, where I was just like, geez, all right, one more. I can't just leave it there, you know. So
that's the funny thing about my wife and I is, you know, she's very straight laced, very, you know, she likes to work out, she likes her stuff, but you know, she's a Star Wars girl. So if I'm watching Rebels and she falls asleep on the couch while I'm watching Rebels, I know I got to stop because she's going to want to see the next episode. Right. I don't want to watch the whole thing over and over again every night.
Sweet. Yeah, that's cool. She's in it with you there. So you don't have to, you don't have to hide in the back room like me when I'm watching Star Wars.
It's funny because I want to say it was probably 1991 because you hit on it originally that my collecting thing. I've got a Star Wars collection. She and I were driving down the road. It was about 1991, and I looked over at her. We'd just gotten through watching Batman animated series together that day, and I said, do you think it'd be weird if I collected Batman action figures? And she said, no, go for it. That's not weird. And she says to this day, she thinks she should have said yes because it's led into a room in our house, which is nothing but Star Wars. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's the collection thing's tough. I have it in my blood, but luckily, you know, like
you've got the brains to not do it.
Well, the money and then the kid thing ruined it, and then then I just had to put the clamp on it at some point. But I was just like, I swear, if I just started like letting go a little too much, you know, it'd be like my cheese addiction or something, you know, it could get ugly really quick.
Open the floodgates.
Yeah, I started just getting like the tapes again, you know, the old cured tapes, and I was just like, one more. Well, I gotta have this one. I had that one as a kid. It's like, God, shit. I just, you know, got like 5 tapes coming in the mail now.
Oh yeah, it's nonstop, man. It never ends.
Cool. Well, I did find a few other Star Wars connections. So, yeah, in one of the last covers episodes, I posted a video of our boy Oscar Isaac. Right? Have you seen him playing from the edge of the deep green sea? That was pretty weird and out of nowhere. And then just this week in Rolling Stone, apparently, they were interviewing different actors, I think, and asking them about music and just kind of general, like, what was your first album kind of questions and stuff. And he was in there, and he brought up The Cure like twice, like in along, you know, a bunch of other stuff he mentioned. But he said his first album was Staring at the Sea, the singles. And he has a quote. He says, the singles collection was my introduction to them. The Cure were the first band where I wanted every album of theirs because their music seemed to fit perfectly with everything that was happening in my adolescent life. So totally going back right to what we were saying.
Yeah.
Then he said the album that changed his life was Wish. And he said, I was really obsessed with this album, but no one thinks it was their best one. It was really the band at that point of disintegration. But you know, from the edge of the deep green sea is one of my favorite songs of all time, and the first song I truly fell in love with. Then as an adult, it was Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. So yeah, he's going on the record, but yeah, I guess a fairly diehard Cure fan, which is pretty rad.
I can't disagree with that either. I mean, as much as I love Disintegration, it's weird. I have this love-hate relationship with Wish.
Yeah.
It's like for every Edge of the Deep Green Sea, there's a Wendy time, you know?
Yeah.
There's a couple of songs on it that just don't really resonate with me, but that is also the first that's the first album that I was a fan of when it came out. Like I was
Okay,
playing
yeah.
catch up. I was playing catch up before that. Where
So,
that one, I was working at the music store. I knew it was coming. I went to the midnight release.
right.
I won the play out video cassette that they were giving out that night. I brought
Nice.
home posters and all sorts of things. So I mean,
A lot of build
yeah.
up.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
A lot
cool.
of build up, but that's awesome. I didn't know that
Yeah.
about Oscar Isaac.
Any
Now,
other inside Star Wars scoop of other actors that are fans by any chance?
well,
Anybody?
I'm pretty sure looking back at the Wish program
Uh-huh.
from the concert, I want to say it was Simon. Simon said that it was either Simon or Robert.
Yeah.
One of the two said it was one of their favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, I got
And
that jotted down too. It was from let's see, where was it? Yeah, Simon in the 86 or like Standing on the Beach kind of era, I guess. Might have been that one. Said his favorite movie was Star Wars, and actress was Carrie Fisher, actor Harrison Ford. And then in the Wish one, Robert and Perry put it in their
there you
favorite
go.
movies list. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty rad.
The strings are tenuous, but they're there.
They're there. They're totally there. So
Yeah.
leading to the ultimate question, then I guess,
Sure.
what do you think why was Darth Vader telling Boba Fett not to listen to Disintegration when he's hunting Han Solo?
Did you see that meme the other day?
The one where it's the album cover?
Yeah, with the album cover with Boba Fett in the background.
Yeah, it says no disintegrations. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Mandalorian shows us why no disintegrations. You see him take out those Jawas?
True. For sure. And I love that Darth Vader puts an S on it like an old person would do. Like, don't be listening to your Disintegration's little Cure albums while you're trying. Like, whatever, old man. Yeah. So we'll never know, maybe. I don't know.
Nope.
But yeah, I think you summed it up. I guess the pop side, it would be the light side of the Cure too versus the dark side.
Yes.
When I started the podcast, I thought the main battles of Cure fans would be old versus new, but really it's dark versus light a lot of times, where you get so many people that are just like, I can't stand Find Him in Love, whatever, mint cars, bullshit, just like anything that isn't dark. And then other people are like, fuck that, man, I want the hooks, I want the pop, So, do you have a preference, or are you pleasantly happy with both?
I'm right in the middle, man. For every Just Like Heaven, you've got a Fascination Street, or Never Enough, or Burn, or the list can keep going on and on. Strange Day, I love that song, but at the same time, I wouldn't give up, Too Late or Halo, or I could give up Love Song. I'm kind of done with Love Song, but Pictures of You, you don't get better than that.
Yeah, it is like, and even with the stuff that I would initially like, I like sad Cure more than dark Cure, I guess, if I had to like pick a shade of whatever, because it's like, even with the sad ones, it's like a catchy hook usually. Even like Strange Day, it's like, I love that song. It's sad, it's dark, but it's like
A Letter to Elise.
There's
it's
so
a
many
sad
cool
song,
hooks,
but it's so pretty.
Yeah, it's so pretty, and it has so many good hooks, and it's catchy as shit, So it's so you gotta do both, but the balance, I guess that is the going back to Star Wars.
There we go.
Gotta find the balance.
Love it.
Yeah. I guess as the graphic designer side of you, do you have a favorite Cure album cover or font and cover?
Let me see. There's something about the 17 Seconds and Pornography album covers that just really resonate with me. I think it's the obscured photography and the really, really nice typography on it. I'm a typographer too. I love messing with typefaces and fonts. But the nice mixture of typography plus the obscured photos and the dark and the light, you've got a really good contrast in those album covers that are just really, they just sing to me a little bit, for lack of better terms. I always, as great as Disintegration is as far as an album, the album cover was always good, but it didn't quite hit me like those did.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like I think even when we've done some kind of like cover episodes and stuff, I always just have to put that off to the side because I love the album so much. I can't imagine it's got to be influenced by just loving the album so much that it could have like a giant donkey on it or whatever, and I'd be like, yeah, that's awesome, but I mean, I do love it, but at the same time, I feel like it's not sincere. It's only because I'm, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's got to be influenced by that, but yeah, it is
But
weird. I
at the
remember as a
same time,
kid that we were
at the
all
same
like,
time, I couldn't imagine anything else being on that cover.
yeah, exactly. So like looking at some of the singles and stuff, they're like, yeah, that's cool. But if like the love song cover was on there or something, I'd be like, it's
Right.
cool, but it's not, doesn't really represent the album.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess as we start to wind down, I don't want to keep you too long there, but I initially had thrown out to you the idea of like you kind of touched on it earlier, the idea of matching a Star Wars album to a Cure or Star Wars movie to a Cure album. Did you happen to jot anything that down, or should I run my list by you? And
No, I did not. So please go right on ahead.
well, yeah, maybe it'll work better that way since it's kind of a shot in the dark. One of my, as you may have heard on this show before, I tend to get a little carried away with my conspiracy theories and start, connecting the yarn to this or that. But
no, I've never noticed that before.
Yeah. We're on episode 150. We got to stretch the shit somehow, but yeah, so I thought it'd be funny to try to pair, like a wine and food or something, like a Cure album
Right.
with a Star Wars movie, and yeah, you can be the expert panel then to tell me how far off I am, or if you somewhat agree or totally disagree. How about that?
Okay, all right. Sounds great. Cool. No pressure.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be a touchy subject. I'm gonna totally piss you off with both sides of the spectrum. Like, what? That one?
It takes a lot. It takes a lot to upset me. So
okay,
cool.
So I'll ease into it. I think it'll go easier if I start in the order of Star Wars movies as they were released. So New Hope first. We'll start with the original Star Wars movie, New Hope, and I had to put 2 on this one because I was a little undecided. So you can help me out. I thought either 17 Seconds would be the most representative, or Head on the Door, and both of the logic behind those would be 17 Seconds just because it's so pure and stripped down and kind of started the actual sound of the Cure, so it's kind of the start of it all, and it still has its slight flaws, and like, it's not super slick, but at the same time it's just more indie that way, and it feels a little more genuine and put together. The Head on the Door side of it might be because it was the start of like that golden era we talked about, so at the same time pretty much nobody could have really any complaints to that one or the first, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Head on the Door kind of fits that discrepancy a bit more, but I don't know. What do you think on those two? Would you go one or the other or something different?
I'm more along the lines of the 17 seconds idea, because it's like Star Wars. It starts off really small and builds into this bigger world as it goes from movie to movie to movie.
Yeah.
So it kind of has that same feeling with 17 seconds, where it's a small little, I was originally going to say, Boys Don't Cry or Three Imaginary Boys, but no, it's not right. I think you're right with it being 17 seconds, more of a refined start.
Yeah.
And with the promises of more to come in the future.
I like that.
You can tell they're building up to something bigger.
Exactly. Like you're not going to have, faith or even, disintegration technically without starting at, 17 seconds. So much like Star Wars, that's where it all begins. Cool.
Exactly.
Probably the most obvious and easy one, Empire, then would have to go with disintegration, I think, because
absolutely.
Not only is it mentioned in it, but they're both perfect, pretty much. They're both middle of the trilogies, if you want to take the Blood Flowers trilogy going perspective. Both dark but catchy. Both have a romantic side, even though they're still super dark. Like pornography is just dark as shit, but like disintegration still has like some romance and pulling it.
A little bit of hope to it.
Yeah, so there's got that there, much like Empire, and both of them just end on a down note, as they say.
Down, but hopeful at the same time. There's still
they're not
that, yeah.
totally beat, but at the same time, yeah, it's
I agree with that pairing.
all right. Good. So far,
Yes.
not offended. Next one. This one was tough. Return of the Jedi. I went with Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me.
Okay.
Because I had both are brilliant, but do have some goofy shit thrown in there. Mostly meaning the special edition, I guess. But both have heaps of powerful classics and moments I jotted down. Both probably could be shorter, but I don't want them to be. Totally happy and has some good dark shit in it too. So yeah, like both of it,
I agree. That's pretty spot on. I was originally thinking, oh, please don't say Wild Mood Swings.
Yeah, nah. I think I got a good home for that one.
Oh, good. No, I think that's accurate because it's got its lighthearted moments. It also has some super sad moments to it. It just really works overall.
Yeah,
it's got a flow to it that works.
Cool.
I like that.
Cool.
Yeah,
good. So now we go back to the prequels, and so Phantom Menace, and I've struggled with the prequels a lot over the years, so
haven't we all?
Okay, good. Want to make sure I was still okay to say that.
It took me a long time to come to terms and to find out, I got to remove myself from the equation and look at them as a story as a whole to actually be able to appreciate them a lot better.
Well, that's the tough part is like the story is actually great through the it probably has like
Dude,
the best.
If you've read the books, they are amazing and they're so promising. And then the execution though is where they lack in some way. Anyway, I could go on for hours, but please continue.
Well, it's a good stepping stone for the first one. Phantom Menace, I felt was Wild Mood Swings on a lot of levels, because there is some great stuff in it. Definitely lots of great parts. Want and Bear and Treasure are great, just like the Darth Maul lightsaber fight. There's a lot of good parts in there for sure.
Absolutely.
But then some of the worst stuff I've ever seen too. So like Round and Round versus I don't know. That pod race
half that album is brilliant. half that album is brilliant, and the other half is like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, like really.
And like the Phantom Menace, it's very overly polished in areas.
Yeah. So it's more like the revising or the editing or something, or you know what I mean? I felt like there's a good movie in there, but yeah, it's just too slick, too bright. Maybe even the yellow album cover versus not enough dirt
like
on
the
everybody.
Naboo Starfighters.
Yeah, everything is too clean. Everything's too clean. Yeah. That's like a lot. So and I put Jar Jar is round and round and round, I think. So, but that's probably getting personal there. So is that one all right? I think you'd.
Yeah, that one's all right. That works.
It's the self-titled is the same as Attack of the Clones for me. But I don't know. I feel like both are, it is a Star Wars movie. It is a Cure album. I'm not going to hate it, but at the same time, it's my least favorite of both. There's just too much going on in the wrong directions for me, I think. So
that is a 100% accurate. For me, both of them are the lowest of the total on the totem pole.
Good. I didn't want to offend you too bad. I think your brother,
your
buddy would challenge me on that one.
Chris, Chris would definitely challenge us on that. Yeah.
So then I got to Revenge of the Sith, which definitely has some good darkness in it. Still isn't quite there, so I put it with Blood Flowers. I felt like it has the darkness.
Oh, that's accurate as hell.
Got like the right, their heart's in the right place. It's got the good story, but it's still not quite there. But
there's something that's missing. There's just there's a connection that's missing in there that would make it, that would propel it to that next level. I completely agree with you on that.
All right, so let's move into the sequels and
okay.
Let's call them the postquels. Doesn't anybody recall?
Okay.
I figured that
works.
That was probably less clever than I thought because I've never heard anybody else already make that. So, the postquels. These are the postquels. Force Awakens. I felt was very Wish-esque because it has a few questionable choices.
Mm-hmm.
Is a bit rehashed from
Mm-hmm.
past glories, but it's super fun. Has some of the funniest and darkest and sweetest stuff. So I felt like it kind of felt like a condensed one, like Wish is for a lot of the golden era ones, and that's
I
kind of
agree.
yeah.
It starts out strong with the first couple of scenes, and then somewhere around the middle it gets a little long in the tooth, a little slow, kind
Yeah,
of silly at parts. The jokes are
little
a little much at
little
times,
doing
but
the unstuck maybe.
maybe a little doing the unstuck on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it ends on a super dark note also. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Okay, cool. This one was tough. I don't know quite if this one fit perfectly, but I felt Last Jedi because that's a lot of
Okay,
passionate feelings there. But
there are.
I don't totally feel this way about the top, but a lot of people do, and I feel like it would
Hmm.
fit more based on other people's perspective of the top. But I feel like again, it has a lot of questionable choices that were made, whether they're right or wrong, depends on where you're going
Hmm.
and where you stand. There's some great stuff. Doesn't make a lot of sense, even kind of like the top, maybe, where some of them you start to question why they chose that in the grand scheme of things. But still enjoyable. It probably could have been cooler though if you just maybe focused a little better.
I hear that. It's got that here's something completely different vibe to
Yeah.
it. Here's we've gone along this trajectory, and now people keep saying that this last, for lack of better terms, this last album was so similar to the one before it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make something completely different and throw everybody completely off. And
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure that's what the top did, and that's definitely what the Last Jedi did.
Yeah.
But it is much maligned in a lot of circles, but not in mine. I actually think it's beautiful, and I think it's got some moments that I
Yeah.
would definitely change about it that didn't sit right with me. But as a whole, seeing eventually where they went, it's like they kind of threw some of the bathwater out or the baby out with the bathwater. It's like they had
Yeah.
this great premise, and then whenever we hit the last one, they're like, we went too far over the edge.
Right. Yeah, I agree too. And yeah, and
Yeah,
visually, like you're saying, just look amazing
stunning,
too. Yeah, it was
stunning.
like
Even you didn't get a proper lightsaber duel in that one, but man, the duel that you did get with the Praetorian guards
yeah, that's
versus,
one of my
oh man,
favorites. That
it was
was
gorgeous.
rad.
Yeah,
Just looked
yeah.
like a Target commercial gone crazy or something.
If you
Loved it.
set your target on fire and just
Yeah.
started running around, yeah, no kidding.
Totally. So then wrapping it up with the last one, and then I got two bonus ones. But Rise of the Skywalker
Hmm.
would be 413 Dream, maybe, and I'm a little torn on that one. But because I think I like Rise of Skywalker maybe a little better than 413 Dream, but maybe in the grand scheme of things, because there's a lot of again more going with the idea of how 413 Dream was supposed to be this big double album where there was so many of these, and there's like the mystery kind of with like the mystery cut of Rise of Skywalker was like, well, what didn't
Hmm.
we see, or even if they didn't film it, what didn't we see, because there could have been so much more to it because we just needed more story, I think. But yeah, it's final chapter too, so it's kind of easy to pair it with that one.
Right.
Again,
Yeah.
questionable choices, but they chose them, so you just go with it.
Yeah. No. And
So,
again, there's parts of it that are absolutely beautiful, and other parts that are like, oh,
yeah.
why did we do this? Wait a minute. Where did he come from? Why is he back? How?
Totally. Freak show now? What? so,
Right.
so yeah,
But
man.
there's also some incredibly dark moments in it too, and there's some really
Yeah.
super light moments. And yeah, I agree with you on just about every front right
All
there.
right, cool, man.
Yeah.
Then just real quick as bonus tracks, because I feel like poor Solo gets neglected, so I'd say that's like the glove, maybe. Where there's
I love it.
yeah. So I was totally cool with it, and I'm stand by it. Rogue One is definitely pornography. I think super fucking.
Yeah.
There's no way out. No fucking
Yeah.
around. No kitty jokes in this one. We're getting down to business. There's No love cats.
No love cats, and what an ending.
Yeah. So that has to be pornography. So
I like that. I like that a lot. But the solo as the glove, that is so apt. That just fits. That's
yeah,
perfect.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Both
It's like
underappreciated.
it's like that album. It's the movie I never knew I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was the one that I always thought was kind of really. Do we really need this? And then I watch it. I'm like, yes, yes,
yeah,
indeed, we need
totally.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you give it a chance, you'll be pleasantly surprised, if not fall in love.
absolutely.
So yeah, I was totally down with that one. It's crazy how many
Yeah.
people just like won't even give it a chance. It's just like
It's like the Kathleen Kennedy argument where people just, I think I said on the last episode of Sarlacc Digest, you're looking at a person who has given you your childhood in movies, from Indiana Jones to E.T. She's produced all of these movies. She created The Force Awakens, she created Solo, she created Rogue One, she created The Mandalorian, she did Rebels, she did the final season of Clone Wars,
yeah,
but she is so hated because of one film,
yeah,
and that film is The Last Jedi. It's like, just look at everything else you've gotten that you enjoy,
yeah.
and you're going to throw under the bus because you didn't agree with how Luke Skywalker ended.
Yeah, come on.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't like just throw it out as like an online survey anyway. They had to choose something and they went with it. And it's like, come
Yeah.
on, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's wackadoo for sure.
No doubt. But no, I agree with all those
Cool.
choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was all like, I'm thinking way too long on this, and it's like, what am I doing?
Those are the best conversations, man. The ones that go off into tangents and weird connections. You gotta love it.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you go, man. I won't keep you too long or interrupt your dinner there, I guess, since a few hours back. Thanks so much, man. It's a blast.
Hey, anytime. Seriously, if you want to do this again, I am in. Talk Cure, talk Star Wars, whatever.
Cool.
I'll listen. I'll laugh at Donald.
Yeah,
cool.
We'll get you
I'll
on the
agree
full
with Chaz.
crew. Now that I got all the important shit out of the way, we can get you. You got a comic book coming out, right?
I do. I have a piece of artwork that was actually approved by Lucasfilm and is now the cover of Star Wars Adventures #1. And it's a retailer exclusive to a retailer here in Victorville, but it can be sent worldwide. If anybody wants to listen to it, you can order it or listen to it. We're talking about music. If you want to read it, it's just, I did the cover for it. It's got Rey and Darth Vader on it. Weird combo, but it really kind of worked.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you. The price tag on it's a little high. It is $20 for this comic, but with that $20, you get the comic book. You also get the first 500 people get a challenge coin that I also designed. Awesome. Plus $5 goes to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And for every comic bought, they will print a second comic and send it to St. Jude's also to give comics to kids, because it's kind of a dying medium. So just trying to get comic books in the hands of kids, trying to stoke that fire of creativity and reading. And it's a great charity. So I'm very proud of it. So awesome. If you just go to comicbooksurplus.com and you can pre-order it there.
Okay. And even after the pre-order, when does it officially come out?
It's supposed to come out mid-October, so it might hit right around the time this is supposed to come out.
So can you still just order it then after the pre-order's done? Or
yes, as long as they don't sell out, you absolutely can.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, we'll definitely put a link to that in the Facebook thread for this, and I'll post it around too. And it looks so cool, man. It's just really rad to see that.
Thank you.
All come together. And so check that out. Like we said, you can find a billion other Scott projects out there. Your art in particular, you have a Facebook page, Art of Solo, right?
Scott Solo. That's my nickname on the Sarlacc Digest podcast is Scott Solo. So you can find on Instagram the Art of Scott Solo, or just I've got a Scott Solo Facebook page, and please check it out. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, loving your Indiana Jones stuff, man. It looks good.
Thank you. It's funny because I get these muses. I'll start drawing somebody, and it's like, nope, that's not right. So I'll just keep drawing them over and over again until I feel like I've got a feel for it.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
Yeah,
they look great.
Thank you.
Nerd Tunes podcast, right? And
Yep.
Sarlacc Digest podcast. Both
That's
of
right.
those are out there.
You can find Sarlacc Digest on YouTube, Sarlacc Digest Podcasts. You can also go to sarlaccdigestpodcast.com. Nerd Tunes, just go to nerdswithattitudepodcast.com or look up Nerd Tunes on whatever platform you get your podcasts.
Oh, yeah. Cool. And yeah, with Sarlacc too, you guys do it live on YouTube, so it's fun to catch those on every other Wednesday. So yeah, and keep an eye on those. It's cool. Like
I enjoyed. I'm the guy who gets to talk with everybody on the live chat, so it's fun having conversations with you and having conversations with everybody while it's going on. We like to make it as immersive and user friendly as possible, so we get immediate reactions from people, and we always share what you say. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a blast. Cool, man. Yeah. Well, anything else you got in the works?
No, just thanks for having me on, man. This is fun.
Anytime, man. So good to talk with you and hash it all out. So really appreciate it. And you keep safe out there and every degree. And hopefully we'll all be around soon enough to cross paths on that Cure tour that's going to happen someday.
That's right. Live from the moon, right?
Right. We'll get there. We're all going to have to go to the moon, I think. Let's do it. We like to say talk hard, but I know you got your own catchphrase too, right?
I do. Keep it nerdy.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
Oh man, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to that half as much as I enjoyed talking to him. What a sweet dude. And thanks again to Scott for being on the show. It was a real pleasure having you on here. And it's one of those deals where I look down at my notes after editing this and putting it together. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to ask him this. I forgot to ask him that. So much that I definitely got caught up in the moment and forgot to ask him. So I'll have to get him back on the show one way or another. And be sure to check out all those links that he had mentioned. I won't run through them all again, but they're on our Facebook page. So go find our Holy Hour Facebook page, and also try to tag them as much as possible on the Holy Hour Instagram page. And be sure to just follow our podcast on Apple Podcasts, where the main thread is there. We're on Spotify. We got the YouTube page. All the old ones are on YouTube, by the way. I've been trying to reissue them gradually on the Apple thread throughout the year. But like I say, if you can't wait and you just want to find all those old episodes, they are on YouTube, the whole catalog. So don't forget about that YouTube page. And if you just want to drop me a line directly, go ahead and email me at gavinconnor@gmail.com, and we'll steer you in the right direction from there. Send us an idea. If you have an idea for an episode, send it our way. And be sure to check out 17secondsshirts.bigcartel.com, where you'll find all the latest and greatest from Chaz's wonderful designs. And so bound to be some cool ones popping up soon, and don't want to miss out. So I'll leave it there. To quote the great Pep Palpatine, we got some great episodes coming up. They're all going to be good. Be good. Sounds more like E.T., doesn't it? Be good. Oh boy. Good night. Just like heaven.